Hey guys, this is Beauty Butterfly. I'm coming to you all with my first cosmetology experience video. I just want to come on and give you all my take of what's been going on with me for my first few weeks at cosmetology school. It's been 12 weeks since I started cosmetology school, and so I just want to come on and give you all my experience so far. I want to give myself enough time to give you all an honest opinion about how I feel cosmetology school has been going for me. So if you want to see how it's been going for me, then stay tuned. Alright, you guys, in the 12 weeks that I've been in cosmetology school, well, it'll be 12 weeks tomorrow, I have learned so much. It is so much information to know. I am attending the night classes at Kendall Schuler School of Cosmetology, and that is a 18-month program. So far, we've learned so much. The next chapter that we're starting on Monday is going to be hair cutting, but I've already done thermal ironing styles, hairstyles. I've done hair coloring, I've done braiding, I've done sanitation, sterilization. I've done so many topics already in school. It's just so much to contain and to remember and to make sure you remember it for later on. So I know my next step is going to be going to either design or style. I can't remember which step is next. And then I will be on the floor doing actual clients, and now have theory, which is book work, Mondays and Tuesdays. So I'm very excited to be moving on in about 6 weeks to doing actual clients. But it's so much information to understand and to know, especially when we move on to the next step of our cosmetology experience at Kendall Schuler, because we will start working on real clients. Right now, we're just working on mannequins. And you can burn the mannequins, you know, on accident, and they won't flinch. But when you have actual clients and stuff in your chair, and you're having to make sure you don't burn them, and that you make sure the haircut is nice, and that you can't start over, and you know, it's a lot to make sure you know. And it's kind of nerve-wracking because, like I said, you learn so much. But I'm going to go back to the beginning. At first, I did not think that I was going to be able to get through cosmetology school. It was so much information that I just felt like this is just going to be horrible. My first 2 weeks were really rough for me, trying to balance homework, working full-time, having a family, and it was just a lot. So I told my husband, I'm just like, listen, I don't think this may be for me, but I'm going to keep on, because for me, this is my last chance to do something before my child starts school, and when he'll actually need me home a lot. So I said I was going to give myself this chance to actually pursue something that I'm really interested in. And right now, I'm just amazed at the progress that I've achieved. Like I said, just beginning and what I thought has totally changed. My teacher, she's always there helping us whenever we need help, whether it's with theory work, book work, or whether it's on the mannequins, the stuff that we're practicing, whether we need help with stuff like that. She's always there to help us. Even when it's time for tests and stuff, she makes sure that we have a review before the day of the test. It's a lot to know that we have teachers that's really willing to help us. She is not the only teacher that's offered help. Any of the teachers there, if you need something, if you don't understand something, if you have any questions about anything, the teachers are more than welcome to answer any questions that you may have, even if you're not in their class. There are a lot of pros so far, and there are also a lot of cons. One of the cons, I would say, in my opinion, is the teachers that we have been doing this for a long time. And so sometimes I feel like they teach off their experience. But I will say, make sure you always read your chapters. Read the chapters regardless of what you all do in class, because the tests are based on the chapters in the book. And the book may be totally different than exactly everything that the teacher is telling you. And I'm not saying what they're saying is wrong, but because they've been in the business for so long, they develop their own way of doing things, and sometimes it's hard to break the habit especially when you're at a salon all day, coming to work, and teaching people or students us things. Sometimes it's hard to break the habit of teaching by the book. Not saying they don't create any shortcuts or anything, but they just have their own way of doing things sometimes. So I will, like I said, the one thing I would recommend that any student do, I don't care what school you're at, whether it's Kenner Schuler, Paul Mitchell, any of the schools, make sure you read your chapters so you'll know what's going on. It won't be, oh, well, the teacher didn't tell me. That was one of my biggest mistakes. One of the tests, I was going off of what we've just been doing in class, and I really didn't read my chapter that week. And so when the test came, oh my goodness, like I was so unprepared, and I made a 76 on that test, and that's the lowest grade I've made since I started school. And so after that, I just knew I had to read my chapters for myself. I had to make sure I knew what was going on in my chapters, irregardless of what my teacher was telling me. I made sure I read my chapters. And so far, I've made nothing but A's in cosmetology school. 1B, that 1C and that 1B. And those two grades just tore me up in the inside. But I made A's, like A's on everything. The last test we just took was hairstyling, and that's one of the bigger chapters in the My Lady book that we use. And you all, I thought I was going to fail this test. It was so much information to know. So you have like this much information and this many questions, and so you just don't know what they're going to ask you. And so I studied and I studied and I studied and I studied, and I made a 96, and I was just so happy. Like, you all don't understand, like, C's and B's are just not an option for me. If I'm making C's and B's, it's because I'm not applying myself. I'm not putting my best foot forward. So for me, reading my chapter has helped. It has worked. It will work for you all too. You'll have to figure out what is the best study skills for you. For me, I can't sit down and read my entire chapter because I won't retain any of that information. So throughout the day, throughout my lunch break at work, I will print off my Quizlet. Quizlet is an amazing site for me right now. They break down the chapters, really condense questions, vocabulary words, and I will print those off and I read those throughout the week. And my tests are usually like at the end of the week, unless we have like little chapters. Then I'll have like theory one day, and then test is like the very next day. So with those, you just have to read and hope for the best. But those chapters are usually like 3 to 5 pages. It's not a long chapter. And so also in your books, if you all are getting the My Lady books, I don't know about any of the other books, the side panels that have extra information, make sure you read the side panels. Because a lot of my questions, I'm like, this was not in the book. And so we will go back there in the side panel. Make sure you read the side panels in your books. You all, I'm telling you, the smallest things will make the biggest differences when it comes to an A to a D to an F. Like, make sure you read for yourself. So you have theory, and then you have mannequin work that you phase out on. So you have tests out of the My Lady book that we use at Kenner Schuler, and then you have phase outs that you do on mannequin work that you learn throughout the week. And so with the mannequins, we usually shown videos off of YouTube under Kenner Schuler, showing us whatever chapter we're on. Those are the videos that we watch off of Kenner Schuler on YouTube, and then we set up our mannequins, and then we practice in class. After we practice throughout the week, then we are phased out on that particular thing. How the phase outs work is our teacher will read off a list of instructions, and we go down and we have to follow those exact instructions. She comes and checks us off. The more recent check off phase out that we've had is on our thermal iron curls. And so we had to do spiral curls and figure 6 curls. So we did our curls, we had to do 6 of each. And then she had to come stand by us and see us do 1 of each to phase us out. You all, it was so nerve-wracking. Like, she makes me so nervous. She makes us all nervous. But I made a 90 instead of 100, and I was completely upset because the one thing I did not do was test my iron on the neck strip to make sure that it did not singe. So make sure you all listen to the instructions. while the teacher's telling you, so you can get every point possible. So for right now, this is all the information that I have for you all. If I can think of anything else, I will do a second part to this video. If you all have any questions about anything dealing with cosmetology school, what you should do to get into it, just let me know down below in the comment box. Oh, one of the other things that I will say is, when you're considering cosmetology school, make sure you go take a tour. That was one of the biggest things that got me, was the tour. Just to see the smaller size classes, just to see. When I went the first time, and I went during the daytime, I know it would be totally different at night because I'm a night student, but I went during the daytime, and the teacher had like the kids around her desk showing them things. It was not us sitting down. It was not them sitting down just looking at a board or whatever. And you do have theory times when you do that, but the teacher was actually hands-on, doing things with them, just being there with the students, doing stuff with them. And so I'm just like, yes, like that worked for me. And I ran into somebody that I knew. He's an instructor at one of the Kenner Schulers. He's not at the one I am at now. He's at one of the other ones across town, Rashawn. He has been big for me, just seeing, you know, because I used to go to him to get my hair done, and my mom and us used to always go to him to get our hair done. And then just to see him at Kenner Schuler, and then he was just saying, oh, you considering going to school and stuff? And I was like, yeah. And so just him being there just kind of made me feel like I could do it too. Not saying that, you know, it's just a job anybody can do. I just felt drawn to do it. And so I went, signed up. Financial aid worked out. Make sure you're on top of your financial aid. Make sure that you have your stuff in order so that you can get as much Pell money as you can get. Kenner Schuler is $19,000 plus. So it's about $20,000 to go. And I had half of that paid by Pell Grants, and then the other half I took out in student loans. But while I'm at school, I am applying for scholarships, which is something that I recommend that you all do. If you're all in cosmetology school, thinking about going to cosmetology school, they have scholarships for current cosmetology school students, and they also have scholarships for prospective cosmetology students. And if you all have any questions about any of that, just make sure you go Google it. Just go to cosmetology school scholarships, and there will be bunches and bunches of scholarships that will pop up that you can apply for. And so I would recommend that you all do that. Also, make sure that if you have any questions or any concerns that you're not learning something in class, yes, first go to your teacher. And if you still feel like the situation has not been handled, then go to the director. Our director, Ms. Sharon, is like the most supportive director. She always encourages us to come to her with any problems that we may have. And the few problems that I've had, I've just waited and they just worked themselves out. Just things that I didn't understand why we did the things we did in class, and why my teacher taught the way she taught. And like I said, as you go on, you just learn that people have their own way of doing things. There is a standard that they must follow, but they do branch off and teach you things based on their own knowledge. And that's okay, because you want to be able to have more than one way of doing things. And so that's what I just feel like that's just a base thing for life. There's more than one way to do one thing. And I feel like my teacher is very diverse with how she gives out the information to us, especially when it comes down to us doing mannequin work and how we curl, how we did hair color. She let us get creative and do our own little mixture of hair color. So it's just really been a nice experience so far. Like, I'm just anxious to learn. Like, this is something I've been really wanting to do, and I never knew how much I wanted to do it until I got into doing it. So if you have any questions about anything that I've been discussing in this video, just leave them in the comment space down below. And if you all want a second part, or like I said, if I'm not covering something, you have a lot more questions, I will do a second part, because if you have that question, I guarantee you somebody else has that question. And if I can answer it, I do not mind. If I can get any information from my school to further help you all with any questions that you may have, then I will do that as well. Don't forget to thumbs this video up and subscribe.